Welcome to Game 2 of the 2024, yes, 2024 Warriors of Middle-earth War of the Ring International Tournament. This is, again, Game 2 between Spartako and Vayze. So they're using both the Warriors of Middle-earth and the Lords of Middle-earth expansions. Vayze won Game 1 as the free, and so Spartako is taking Game 2 as the free this time. They're switching sides. So if Vayze wins, then he will win the championship. If Spartako wins, it goes to Game 3. I do not yet know who won this game or know the results. This is the first time I've seen it. So we'll go through it together and have a bit of commentary and analysis as we go. Congratulations again to both players for getting this far. So Spartako chose to have Gandalf, the new version of Gandalf in, a very typical choice. He gets his die, but he didn't put any companions out. They're all in the Fellowship. Perhaps he's worried about corruption victory for Shadow. That happened once or twice in our semifinal match. He does, however, have There and Back again, which would be very nice if he started off with, say, Gimli out in Erebor. But at this point, it's a little difficult to use. Through a Day and a Night is going to be difficult to use without any companions. That might be a hand clogger as we go through the game. Shadow starts with Orc Patrol and Pits of Mordor, and also Ships of Great Draught. Okay, let's start going through and seeing what happens. Vayze allocates one eye, rolls one more, and Gandalf starts off betraying the free right off the bat. In the last game, Spartako had a run of really bad luck. We'll see if he has any better luck this go around. He has 3 character dice in turn 1. That may be hard to use against 3 eyes. There's a pretty good chance of a reveal, in which case Vayze could get out the Chief of the Ring Wraiths very early. That's one reason why I like to put a companion out in WoME and LoME games, is to give an option for dice that I don't really want to use another way, like multiple character dice. And that's what Vayze did last game in turn 1 when he had a very similar roll. So Vayze starts off moving armies. Spartako moves, and he's safe the first time. Always nice to see, especially with the possible Chief of Ring Wraiths in the game. He draws a character card. Pretty good draw as far as cards go. At least he can play it with one of his character dice if he doesn't want to move it multiple times. That's probably why he drew, is he's thinking I don't want to move 3 times. Makes sense. Vayze moving north. He does move again, and he is not revealed. Imagine he's breathing a sigh of relief about that one, a 3. So will he take Gandalf or not? In the base game, you pretty much always just take Gandalf right off the bat on a 2 or a 3. In this game, with the expansions, it's a little more questionable. Yeah, because Gandalf has the Keeper of Nerea die, which is quite useful, except when it betrays the Fellowship, as he's prone to do from time to time. Perhaps he had a bad night's sleep the night before, or Pippin's just irritating him too much. Not sure. So we'll see what he does. On a 3, yeah, it's a tough choice either way. He does kill Gandalf. No problem with that. Sauron is now at war. With his last character die, he could use a ring and bring out Galadriel. He could move again. He could play Horn of Gondor. I'll just make a prediction that he plays Horn of Gondor. Let's see. Moving the 3rd time into 3 eyes and potentially revealing into Mordor with the Balrog potentially coming is quite risky. So we'll see. Okay, so he does recruit Galadriel, but he has to give up a ring to do it. Still, he gets an extra die next turn. And dice are really important for the free economy, so I don't disagree with that choice. Shadow gets Gothmog, a favorite early on with multiple expansions. Okay, so they each gain 1 die. Free gain Dane Ironfoot's Guard, and you know the way there, which is the 2 Smeagol tiles. Both of those are quite useful early on. He also gets the Stone of Erich, or Eric, which could be useful if the dead men come out. Okay, the Shadow get Threats and Promises. A bit slightly more useful, potentially, with the Chief of Ring Wraiths in play if he comes out, but generally a total dud card. And the Palantir of Orthanc. Okay, a bit more of a reasonable role for Spartako this time around. He plays You Know the Way there right off the bat. Strong move. Okay, so it looks like Vayze is doing the typical Lorien do rush, Lorien with Dol Guldur, and do with the Barad-dûr army. Safe. Barely, barely, and barely. 3 5s on Vayze's roll. So 3 safe moves for Spartako. It's a pretty good start for the Fellowship. But the Shadow is moving along pretty quickly as well. What will he do with his muster dice? Takes some time to think. And he moves in Iron Hills and Edoras, but not Carrick. So interesting choice there. Saruman is Isengard is at war. Quite a bit of thinking from Spartako. He moves forward the elves once. He'll need to move them forward one more time to get a muster in one of those 2 strongholds. Okay, and with the Palantir die, we'll probably play either Horn of Gondor or Dane Ironfoot's Guard. My guess would be Dane. Let's see. Yep. Dane. Strong choice to protect the Dew line. Erebor is looking pretty strong, but the Elven strongholds are looking pretty weak. So Vayze could use a ring to get out Saruman here. On the other hand, to do so means Gandalf the White could come out next turn if a Will of the West is rolled. So it's also possible he would just save his ring and wait to crown him at the end of next turn. That's what he does. Okay, so the free get Paths of the Dead. The dead men are really begging Strider to come. They are sick and tired of being in the twilight zone between death and life. They're apparently ready to be permanently dead, so they are beckoning Aragorn instead of the other way around. Shadow draws King is revealed. They also are hoping for Aragorn to come out and not on anybody's side, which hurts the Freeze faction plays. Oof, 0 character dice rolled for the free. He'll probably bring the elves up 1 spot now so that he can start mustering when they are attacked. Wow. So he uses Elrond's ring without Elrond in the game to get a character move right off the bat. Perhaps he's scared of the Balrog, but I don't think the Balrog will be played with the elves 2 away from war. And also declaring, if he's revealing into Dimral Dale and 2 rerolls isn't that great either. So yeah, it's an interesting choice. I'd be inclined to wait to use that until Elrond's in play, and instead prepare the elves now. But he obviously really doesn't want to not move this turn. Perhaps he's also banking on Galadriel just using all those musters there. Yeah, I guess if he moves up 1, the Shadow attack Woodland Realm, and then Lorien is already at war at that point. Sorry. So he moves up 1, Shadow attacks Woodland Realm, he can recruit in Lorien. Or he doesn't move up, Shadow attacks Woodland Realm and Lorien, he can still recruit in Lorien. So maybe it's not that helpful to move up the elves right now. Okay, Vayze does find him, and it's a 3. Will he take the corruption or take a random? Or just, he takes the corruption. Okay. Saruman at play. There and back again. Ah, nice timing for that card. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He'll probably send Legolas into Woodland Realm. Even though Legolas and Gimli do the same thing in Woodland Realm, a lot of players like to do that thematic connection and take the elf there. I probably would have done Gimli just to be different, but doesn't matter at all, obviously. Okay, so that does make the do a little more challenging. If either northern settlement is taken, the north is at war right away. Shadow, get out the faction of the Dunlendings. Now the free... Wait. Supposed to move up the elves when he played there and back again. But it seems he just moved up the dwarves. Oh, I see. He moved up the dwarves again here, not the elves. Okay. Palantir of Orthancs in play. It's quite a good use, good timing to play Palantir of Orthanc for Vayze. Because he plays it at the end of this round, next round, if the free rolls any Will of the West, then they'll want to use it for Gandalf the White, most likely. So unless they roll 2 Will of the West next turn, he should get some uses out of it next turn, assuming he rolls some Palantirs then. And it would cost a lot for the free to get rid of it now. He would have to use one of his rings, his last ring, Galadriel's ring, to get rid of it. That would be very costly. So yeah, good timing by Vayze. The free get even more ready in Helm's Deep. They totally retreat from Fords of Isen, which isn't a play you see that often this early in the game. With the Ints potentially coming out in the future, being in the Fords isn't bad because it gives you a chance to play one Int as the defensive card, combat card, when Fords of Isen is attacked. But I guess he just doesn't see a very good use for that H die. What would you do? If he moves the dwarves up, the Shadow could muster the Witch King with one of his rings. I think the Shadow wouldn't do that because they'd lose the Gothmog die, so they wouldn't really gain anything from doing it. They could move up the elves and force an attack, but that doesn't help that much because the Shadow has 2 army dice, so just put both under siege right away. So this also begs the question, what will he do with his next muster die? I probably would just bring up the dwarves and start recruiting even more in Erebor to make the do even more of a pain. It seems like these muster dice, there's not a lot better to do than that right now. But that's the good thing about War of the Ring. There's always a lot of different choices, a lot of different paths you can take. And I'm sure Gandalf would have had some kind of a witty idiom about not knowing the destination. Once you set out your door, you only know when you get there. He'd word it very nicely, I'm sure. So you never know how your choices will affect the game moving forward. Sometimes you just have to take your best guess and move forward. And yeah, no 2 players make all the choices the same. So that's one of the beautiful things about War of the Ring. All right, so Vayze goes right in attacking Woodland Realm. Elves are now at war. Lorien is buffed up. Now we can test my theory that he wouldn't use a ring to bring out the Witch King, because now he could if he wanted to. It wouldn't really delay him in Lorien that much, because Lorien can muster with Galadriel under siege anyway. So yeah, he just goes straight in on trying to nail Woodland Realm, probably before Thranduil's archers or anything can be recruited. Okay, Confusion against Relentless Assault. Shadow takes 2. Gets 2 hits, 3 hits now. 1 with Confusion. 3 hits back with Legolas. So Legolas is dead. Thranduil We cannot see him there in the stronghold, so either he was doing some hiking or hiding somewhere, or he's that leader and he's dead too. Either way, he's grieving for his lost son. Why, oh why, Legolas, did you come back to entomb yourself in this siege with no way out? Okay, another round. This is now round 4. Gandalf the White can come out, which is good news, but the bad news is still very low on character dice. And not many eyes in the hunt box either, which means a lot of attacking for the Shadow. The Shadow is getting off to a pretty fast start. So the free could potentially bring out Gandalf the White, maybe the Eagles to help out the North, which is in the midst of getting attacked, or he could bring out the Ents as well. So let's see. There's Gandalf the White. Here comes the Southrons. And very cleverly, Vayze switches directions, threatening Lorien to get the muster, and now potentially going to Rivendell to get some rerolls on the Fellowship and attack that stronghold. The Free still have a number of Elven elites in the Force pool, so Spartako can still buff it up some before they get there. Vayze could have considered waiting and hoping that Spartako would use his musters elsewhere and then suddenly charge there with him out of musters. If he had a Palantir, he could have... Yeah, he does have Palantir. He could have used it to play a card first. But yeah, either way. Okay. Interesting. Vayze is going straight at Gondor without his full force there. Potentially he wants to threaten Gondor and Rivendell at the same time, so Spartako can't defend both. Let's see what he does. Curious. Okay, so yep, he just goes straight in on Dol Amroth. That army right now is a little bit weak to take it, but with some reinforcement cards or perhaps Corsairs coming later, he could do it. So yeah, he's just going hard and strong for points and really putting the pressure on Spartako. Very interesting play from Vayze. I like the aggression. We'll see how it pays off. Axe and bow played. Okay, so maybe he just wants to nail Dol Amroth with that army right there. Let's see if it works. It's a little interesting that Spartako didn't reinforce it one more time with that muster. But he's coming in with some reinforcements. He's going a little fast because Vayze still has a die. He has Desperate Battle to play against Daylight, probably. Nope, Cruel as Death against Daylight. Still got 2 hits, 1 back. He can do a quick sting on Dol Amroth, that'll really hurt Spartako. Now all three shadow factions are at war, so Spartako is concerned about Day Without Dawn. He's going to try to start moving quickly this turn, it looks like. See if he gets rid of Palantir or not. Whoa! Vayze rocks it on the reroll with 3 6s. And very little taken off him. Okay, so that play ended up working out really well. Quick strike. Yeah, the shadow really can be quite flexible if you don't predetermine where you're going. You look at your dice, you look at the freeze dice, and you see where you can get to and where you can do quick strikes. That can be very effective. Vayze used it quite effectively, but potentially if Spartako recruited one more in Dal Amroth, it could have really helped over there. It'd be a little difficult for Vayze to take any more points in Gondor now that it's at war, Pelargir and Minas Tirith mustering up. But because he has still a big army left in Dal Amroth, it's also difficult for Spartako to take it back, unless he gets the Deadmen faction later on and uses those to wipe out Dal Amroth. That could be a possibility. More Palantir usage. And it looks like Spartako is just going to let him keep the Palantir in play. I would be inclined to use one of those 2 Will-o-the-Wisps he had this turn to get rid of it. Because Palantir, if left in play for turn after turn after turn, can be, you know, death by 1,000 cuts. Okay, so he's still coming after Gondor, even with a lot of units mustered up. Fellowship moves again, it's caught. I imagine that Vayze would probably get out the Witch King this turn, or at least strongly consider it if he wasn't revealed. But now he can get the Chief and still use Gothmog's die. So his decision to wait really panned out. He didn't bring out the Balrog, or he get an extra tile. That could have been useful as well, especially with Strider leading, because if he revealed through Moria and there was an eye, then Strider's dead. So it'd probably force Spartako to go around, which would cost more time. So that was another option. So he is attacking Pelargir from from Lamadon. I hope that the Tolkien nerds who know all of the pronunciations will not get on me too hard. I'm sure I'm skewering a bunch of them. I haven't really ever heard it. I've just read it in the books. So I'm sure I have many of the pronunciations wrong. So excuse me, Pelargir, I believe. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. This has the chance to turn really badly for Vayze if Spartako gets a really good roll. He didn't get a great roll, just a moderate roll. Ooh, interesting. Spartako retreats. That's safer move at face value. On the other hand, that means you've pretty much given up Pelargir and Dal Amroth, because now the Shadow can reinforce Pelargir with Osgiliath. It was a dangerous press. Yes, he had 2 extra leadership in Nazgul. Doesn't look like he had any cards that helped him that much. So I would have been inclined just to risk it. And yeah, maybe you only have a 20 or 30% chance to actually win the battle. But if you do, the payoff is huge, because you can potentially go straight back into Dal Amroth and take that. And that will really, really slow down the Shadow. Retreating, what's the advantage? You save those 3 guys. I'm not sure you need them that much either. So yeah, I would be inclined just to stay and risk it. Take the, 25% or so chance that you might win this battle. And then if so, you can move back into Dal Amroth. It might cost you a ring, because the Shadow has a ring. They could attack with Osgiliath, but I think that would be worth it anyway. So yeah, lots of interesting choices. This game is definitely more interesting than the last one. hopefully there's still more interesting stuff going on. There's actually very, very little going on with Warriors of Middle-earth. This is a Warriors of Middle-earth tournament, so you'd like to see a little bit more with those factions. We do have the Corsairs and the Dunlendings in play, but the Free haven't gotten out any factions. Even over several turns with Mustard Dice in play, they could have gotten the Ints, could have gotten the Eagles, but choosing to use those on defense instead. Sorry, I missed what Vayze did with his Mustard Die at the end of his turn. Okay, he recruited the Corsairs. Interesting that he didn't get the Chief there. So he didn't gain the faction die because he already had that with the Dunlendings. Maybe he wants to use them with Ships of Great Draught. Still, the Chief would be pretty nice to get an extra reroll. It's not just the extra Oh, I see why he didn't get the Chief. He had Gothmog with a star on it last turn. That means the Gothmog die would be gone, so he didn't want to lose that die for the Chief. So this turn, he'll probably take the Chief if there's no star on the Gothmog die. Yeah. Oh, man. Atrocious roll for Spartako. Only one eye in the box for the Shadow, and Spartako cannot really move because he got no movement dice. So he's -7 on movement. Just a bummer all the way around. At least if you get that kind of roll for the Free, you'd like to see 3 or 4 eyes in the box so the Shadow can't do so much. Now the Shadow can do a lot, and still the Free cannot move forward. So Spartako really has to reach into his inner self like Sam often did and find some kind of inner resolve to hold off the hordes of Shadow's armies, to think of some way to take back some of these points or slow him down. Because otherwise, he's in big trouble right now. So he's recruiting a bunch of armies up in Gondor. All right, let's just pause for a moment and look. Zoom out. Sometimes it's helpful for both sides to zoom out and look at the big picture. So for Vayze, he has 5 points. Can any of his points be retaken easily? Woodland Realm is pretty full, pretty stacked. It's conceivable that Erebor could retake it, but it needs a lot of work to get a bigger army to have a chance to take that back. And Dol Amroth looks pretty safe because Vayze has 3 armies around there: North Ithilien, Osgiliath, and Pelargir. So the points that he has looks pretty safe. He needs 5 more points. Where's he going to get it from? Potentially the army in Mordor can take either Rivendell or potentially Shire and or Grey Havens, and then probably something in Rohan. So Spartako also needs to look at that. Where are the 5 points going to come from? And be proactive to protect, and also see if there's any way that he could retake anything. Retaking's hard, so probably protecting the remaining 5 is the way to go. More Corsairs for Vayze. Huge army in Minas Tirith. Yeah, Vayze is not going to go after Minas Tirith, but what can that army do? Vayze wisely closed off Osgiliath, so he'd have to attack through a big army in a fortress just to get out of there. Spartako trying some wasting time maneuvers, moving to Parth-Celebrant. This is one thing I don't really like about the Lords of Middle-earth expansion. It actually discourages the Free from taking advantage and taking a stronghold for cheap early in the game, because the Mouth of Sauron can come out. I personally like FP/MV attempts, and I like to encourage it, not discourage it. So I don't like that rule. I appeal to Roberto, who's almost certainly listening, to reverse that rule in a future 2nd edition of LoME. It's a shame that when you do some clever play and take a shadow stronghold that the shadow just get an immediate buff. So actually a shadow sometimes I even bait or tempt, whatever word you want to use for it. I try to encourage the free to take one when I know I'm pretty safe and can take it back just so that I can get an extra die. Okay, I have somehow the space bar thing is, there we go, messing up. Okay, so, okay, attacking minus Tirith from Osgiliath. And he used Dread and Despair. So Vayze just wants to knock that army down, prevent any possible FP and V threats, prevent probably companions getting there and making a terrifying free army. I'm not sure it's totally necessary, but it certainly feels, yeah, like Vayze just wants to be safe and try to whittle that army down. Which is one of the advantages of Shadow. You just have overwhelming hordes. They just keep coming back and back and back. So if you can get a chance to nail a few guys off, you can do it if you're not in a big hurry. And so far, Spartako is quite away from reaching the top of Mount Doom. And he still just keeps making good use out of the Palantir. He can throw a lot of cards at the free because he keeps drawing more with the Palantir. Drew Cruel Weather, that's going to come in handy. Ships of Great Draw, he's coming again. Maybe he is just going to try to take the 2 points there. Just send horde after horde after horde there, and eventually you'll get it. So this time, Vayze gets under siege. So it's interesting to see if, sorry, not Vayze, Spartako goes under siege. It'll be interesting to see if Vayze keeps attacking there, if he just wanted to get that big army under siege so it wouldn't threaten to take back Pelargir or Dol Amroth. So we'll see what he does there with that. Still keeps drawing from the Palantir. Okay. Elrond is out, and still no factions after turn 6 for the free. Okay, this is one reason why I like using Elrond's die for moving. On a turn like this, you get a free movement, you get the die back, you can do it again, and you can maybe do it again. He could potentially make Mordor this round just by using Elrond's die in his 2 movement. Unfortunately, it's also pretty good roll for Vayze. He has a huge amount of movement, and he'll just use Cruel Weather to block Spartako from making Mordor. So Vayze still looks very good. Okay, Denthor's Folly, nails a leader, and no combat cards there. That one, okay, so he'd have to use a Will of the West to get rid of it. Okay, this is great. I didn't imagine that Vayze would wipe out this huge army in minus Tirith, but instead of going elsewhere, he's just like, I'm going strong on strong, big on big. I have overwhelming numbers, and I'm just going to keep pounding away until I take it, which also makes it safer to protect the other points because he doesn't have to worry about that army if he demolishes it. Second move by Spartako. Oh man, that's always a good idea in War of the Ring. If you want to win, is just roll tons of 6s. So he got 4 hits against 2. And he's just going to use the Corsairs to keep attacking. 0-0, Corsairs again. He's starting to get worse rolls. But if you can choose to get good rolls at the beginning of the combat or later in the combat, I take the beginning every day of the week. Okay, so he is making big use out of the Corsairs. But he got much weaker rolls after the first round. Still coming after it. One more hit. Two back. Almost finishes it. One more time, and boom, he's taken out a huge army. I can't remember. I think there were 4 elites, 3 or 4 regulars, and 4 leaders at the beginning. Vayze is like, no problem. We have Gothmog. Piece of cake. Okay, so he has 7 points now. Spartako is hoping beyond hope he can get into Mordor this round. He's definitely going to use a ring to make that 3rd move, I think. But what he doesn't know is the Shadow have Cruel Weather in hand. They maybe wouldn't have had it yet if the Palantir didn't get so many redraws. Okay, so where else are the points going to come from? 1 in Dale. Perhaps 1 in Edoras and 1 in Shire. That 3 would be enough. He doesn't have to take any more strongholds. Spiders come into play. Moves a 3rd time. Cruel Weather is now used. So Spartako cannot make Mordor this round. Things are looking really, really grim for the free. Take someone you can trust. Pretty nice card, which can block a reveal with the hobbits. Okay, he gets a nice use out of evil things. He's going to be able to draw a tile. He wisely uses Cruel Weather first, so there's no chance of revealing into Mordor because he wants him to be short of there. And a Smeagol tile comes in. So, hello, Smeagol. And hello, Ents. Getting some more characters in play. And yeah, basically the Shadow's like, who needs the Black Captain? Who needs the Chief of the Ring Race when you have Gothmog? Gothmog is making a ploy to become the new number 1, the new number 1 commander of all Shadow armies. Don't know if he bribed Sauron or he's blackmailing him somehow. He has some, interesting information on Sauron's evil past, which he's going to reveal to the world if Sauron doesn't allow him to remain as the commander. So, yep, they're evil, so they do evil things like blackmailing. Probably to be expected. Okay, so Vayze has 8 points, and the free need an absolute miracle. They do finally have a faction die. Okay. Oh my goodness. I was just about to say, let's evaluate what Spartako can do this turn. Can he perhaps use the ends and, take back Edoras, or could he perhaps get Erebor to war and do something in Dale? What can he do? And the answer is absolutely nothing. So, yeah. The Valar are totally absent, napping, not interested in what happens in Middle-earth. 4 Palantirs, and then, if that's not enough, Elrond says, here, draw another card. Oof. That's just disgusting, to be honest. Not much you can say. Vayze and Spartako both talk about it a minute. It'd be interesting to hear Spartako's laugh. Sometimes in the chat, you can't, the sarcasm doesn't quite come through. But I imagine if you could hear it in person, there'd be a slight sarcastic edge. It's certainly not a very merry laugh. Not a Tom Bombadil laugh. And he has Tom Bombadil in his hand, but yeah, not his laugh. A new power's rising. Surprised Gothmog allowed Saruman to do anything. He seems to be making quite the power play this game. So when you have 4 Palantirs, what do? Well, you draw a card and see what you can get. Ooh, Premonition of Danger. Extremely useless at this point. Okay, 9 points. And does he have enough dice to get to the Shire? Let's see. He can move he can use the recruit to recruit a Nazgul and Moria. And then he can use, let's see, 3 to move 1, 2, 3, plus use the ring with a Palantir. So yes. Oh, he also has the ring race abroad, so he doesn't need to use a ring. So he can make it there. He actually has 5 moves because he doesn't need to recruit in Moria with the ring race abroad. What he doesn't know is that Tom Bombadil has planned out this entire scenario just so that when Sauron's forces arrive next to his home, he can laugh at them and protect Frodo for 1 turn before the doom comes. Okay. A little bit of stalling from the free, just playing stuff for the sake of playing. It's pretty much over at this point. Shadow's getting as big of army together as they can to muster up. Here comes the Ring Racer abroad. The sad thing is, let me see, does the Shadow have an army card in hand? They do not. So they won't be able to get rid of Tom Bombadil, so this game will go another turn. The free keeps drawing. Not being able to do much. A little interesting, he doesn't play Athelas, but what's he trying to draw? He's drawing character cards. Perhaps he's trying to draw... Oh, he doesn't even have the ring left. Maybe he's trying to draw There's Another Way so that he can use 1 Palantir and Reprove the Swifter to get rid of all the companions so that he can then get into Mordor this round. Man. And Tom Bombadil! Haha! Tom Bombadillo! Dancing around, holding all of the Shadow at bay. Vayze will not get super angry because it just delays the inevitable. He wants to rip the heart out of the free and just destroy Grey Havens. Forget about Shire. Besides, he doesn't know how long it'll be until he actually draws an army card. Here it is. Good. The free are trying something. They bring some companions, Boromir and Gimli, into Rohan. Perhaps they can take back Edoras. Perhaps they could do some tricky stuff, getting all the way to minus Tirith next turn. Let's see. Grey Havens is attacked. Another round. Let's see if Spartako has the worst disaster ever again. Now it's Elrond's turn to betray them. If you watched the last video I made, you know I'm no big fan of Elrond. He's always hiding away in his own, little safe haven, giving counsel, telling others how they can go and fight and die on the battlefield while he plans his escape from Middle-earth, or maybe not his escape, but the escape of his people, and tells his people not to get involved. The movies, Peter Jackson has a slightly better twist on Elrond by allowing him to send 1 time some elves to help in Helm's Deep. But yeah, Tolkien's opinion of Elrond is not even as high, I guess, as Peter Jackson's. Okay, half jesting aside, what are the free going to do? Ints come. Another one, Int. Gandalf is also just messing around in the forest. We'll see if all of his smooth talking of the Ints does anything. Some misclicks. Gronding the Grey Havens. Have I seen that before? I've probably seen it before. I don't remember it in hundreds of games, but it's pretty cool. They carried Grond all the way there from Moria, of all places. Don't know what Grond was doing over there. And then they use it to bash the ocean to make huge waves to swamp over the Grey Havens. Okay, so Rivendell, sorry, Grey Havens is not going to last long. It kind of serves Elrond right, to be honest. Like, Grey Havens is gone, so you can't use the ships from the Grey Havens to escape with your people out of Middle-earth, so you're just going to be stuck there, and the shadow will slowly overwhelm you as you think over your very poor life choices. Grey Havens is gone. Okay, that is 11 points for Shadow. Pretty much done. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm just counting out any scenario for him to take back 2 points. He could potentially get back Edoras. That only gets to 10. I think the only conceivable scenario is taking back minus Tirith, and that's if Vayze just totally allows him to do it by not putting someone into minus Tirith so that he would have to siege it. And he's probably going to take Shire anyway, so yeah, it doesn't matter. Even if he took back minus Tirith, it wouldn't be enough. So the Shadow end with basically 12 points and the free short of Mordor. Yeah, it's a little disappointing. This game was more interesting than the last just because there was more stuff going on. The factions didn't get a whole lot of run. The Corsairs made a strong showing, helping take minus Tirith. The Spiders did a little bit. The free factions came late, never did anything. The Ents didn't do anything. Gandalf didn't do anything with the Ents. So it was a little bit disappointing that Warriors of Middle-earth didn't have a bit more faction play going on. But sometimes that's how it goes, you know. There are a lot of different things you can do, and sometimes they just aren't prioritized. So this is one reason I actually like to play with the expansions. There's no automatic path. It's not like you have to get the Eagles every time or you have to get the Ents every time. That's the only way to win. There are multiple paths to victory, and sometimes the musters are better used elsewhere, like defending nations, bringing them to war, recruiting, and so on. In the end, I definitely feel luck was with Vayze again, especially with the character dice being as low as they were for Spartako. Spartako is -9 on Will of the West and character dice. -9, and 3 of them came in 1 turn against 3 eyes, which was bad timing. So he only got 12 total, 3 of them on 1 turn, bad timing, and he got +5 Palantirs. Yeah, that's just really, really hard to work with. And the Shadow got very even rolls, but they got -2 eyes and +2 H dice, so they got kind of more movement than would be expected. Also, I believe both Gandalf and Elrond got an eye result. And I believe Gothmog's die was an army die almost every time, except maybe once or twice got the card draw. And yeah, the Black Captain. I missed when the Black Captain came. I was probably too busy bashing on Elrond to see that he came. It's also a little disappointing he came. I kind of wanted to see Gothmog go the distance. But yeah, it's hard for Gothmog to get all the way to the Grey Havens. So anyway, big congratulations to Vayze for winning the gold medal. The World Championship for Warriors of Middle-earth, that's a big achievement. And now he can add that to his ever-increasing online War of the Ring resume. Spartako fought hard, had a very good tournament, came in second, got a silver. That's nothing to sneeze at. I hope he's not too disappointed at the bad luck that he had really in game 1 and 2. You know, War of the Rings like that. That's why, you know, sometimes playing competitively is fun. I like to play competitively because, you know, it adds that extra tension in the game. You feel like you're playing for something. But the downside of it, playing competitively, is it hurts a little more when you just have total bad RNG and lose because of, you know, really difficult dice rolls. In a game just face-to-face, you just kind of laugh it off and bring out the board and play another one. So, yeah, hopefully Spartako can do the same here. Vayze is saying that he could have maybe ended it a round earlier if he drew a strategy card. I think his playing was very strong in both games. And yeah, very well played to both of them. I can't think of much I would have done differently as Vayze. I probably wouldn't have gone straight after minus Tirith, but it looks like he was right in that. It really worked, protected all of Gondor, And yeah, he just bashed through the armies there. Spartako, I can't think of that much either. Maybe a faction earlier. I probably would have stayed in Pelargir and tried to see if maybe luck could swing things. Maybe I'd get a 3 hits in one round and be able to go back into Dol Amroth and potentially slow down the Shadow a lot that way. Probably wouldn't have worked, but perhaps worth a try. Okay, so they have a little bit of chit-chat at the end. All right, so again, congratulations to both players. I will not be doing videos very often. I was doing these two because it was the Warriors of Middle-earth tournament, which I was hosting. I hope you enjoyed them. You're welcome to subscribe, but don't expect too many more videos from me. Perhaps from time to time when I'm free, but real life generally takes precedence over making these. But I do hope that you enjoyed them. I do hope that you leave any comments, any suggestions for the future. I'll probably make some from time to time. It was a lot of fun. So thanks a lot, and see you guys perhaps on Java in the main War of the Ring tournament, which is going on now. Take care, guys. God bless.